In volume 16, the majority of works concern divisions within the party between Otzovis and liquidators. There are a few other gems that I'll mention at the end, but first let's go over this party factionalism, which concerned Lenin so much. Otzovis referred to those RSDLP Bolsheviks who renounced the legal activity of the party in favor of investing more time and energy into the illegal activities of the party. The root of this came from the reality that after 1907, the Duma had been completely co-opted by Tsarist supporters and the so-called Black Hundreds. So the Otzovists believed that legal participation in the Duma was futile. The dismissal of legal means of struggle extended to trade unions as well. Liquidationists or liquidators, on the other hand, referred to Mensheviks who believed that the party should stop its illegal activity and fully embrace the legal institutions, such as the Duma. These two factions, in addition to the ultimatists who wanted to hand the Socialist Duma deputies an ultimatum to commit to their radicalism, evinced a severe slip into factionalism within the party at a critical moment of the post-1905 revolutionary period. Lenin believed that the socialists had to continue participating in the legal sphere, not because there was any hope in the Duma, but because they could use it as a propaganda tool to evince the contradictions of the cadets in the Black Hundreds. In the faction of supporters of Otzovism and God-building, he states plainly that forfeiting the legal arena would be akin to anarchist tactics because in reality they ignore the, quote, concrete political and economic situation in different countries, which determine the specific significance of one or another means of struggle for a given period of time. For Russia from 1909 to 1910, Lenin believed the legal means were as important as the illegal means. And he repeats these ideas many times throughout this volume. Like the Otzovists, Lenin saw the liquidators as equally obstructionist and ignorant of the present historical period, but from the other end. In, quote, the methods of the liquidators and party tasks of the Bolsheviks, Lenin spells this out. He also compares the RSDLP to the German Social Democrats between 1878 and 1888, during the period of the so-called anti-socialist laws, to argue that socialists need to confront current predicaments and make adjustments, but that if the legal work is possible, then it should be balanced by the continuance of illegal work, like bank robberies, for instance. Anxieties over the fracturing of the party piqued the interest and concern of many leaders like Lenin, Plekhanov, and Trotsky, and the debates and competing proposals for unity played themselves out over the competing party newspapers, Pravda, Golos Sotsiodemokrat, Vperyod, and Lenin's new newspaper, Rabochaya Gazeta. Yet the most important work of this volume, Notes of a Publicist, which attempts to tackle the problem of party unity head-on, came out in Discussioni Listok, or discussion leaflet. It's worth noting Lenin's response to Trotsky, who sought to unite the party through conciliation. Lenin didn't believe artificial conciliation was a viable long-term solution. This volume also intersects the death of Leo Tolstoy, and Lenin published a number of articles hailing the writer as a harbinger of church and regime criticism, but a relic of the old world that could not extend his criticism to the socio-economic foundations of the regime in capital. In other words, a great starting revolutionary, but not a Marxist. Another important piece is, quote, the differences in the European labor movement, in which Lenin argues that in advanced capitalist countries like Britain and Germany, deviations from Marxism tend to multiply around anarchistic and revisionist trends. Using a book by Anton Pennecook, a Dutch Marxist, Lenin argues that the bourgeoisie used two tactics to rule. One, force, which they imply in desperate times, and two, liberalism, which is perceived by some workers to be made up of concessions, but are in reality nothing more than an attempt to make class struggle look antiquated. One of my favorite pieces from this volume is an obituary for Ivan Vasilievich Babushkin. Babushkin was a social democrat of the working class, and his story is paradigmatic of what Lenin considered to be an ideal cadre. Babushkin was born to a family of poor peasants, and he moved to St. Petersburg to enter into factory work. There, he participated in reading circles and became active in the Marxist movement. Babushkin participated in the illegal activities of the party, and in 1906, he was discovered smuggling weapons through Russia and executed by a group of soldiers under the leadership of General Paul Georg Remenkov in the Far East. In the midst of the party struggle and debates over the purpose of the legal and illegal activities of the party, one can't help but think that Lenin utilized the heroic dedication of a character like Babushkin to demonstrate the risks undertaken by underground socialists to, in reality, sustain the movement and the legal party. In the historical meaning of the inter-party struggle in Russia, Lenin summarizes the debates within the party and the people involved. In sum, he says what is at stake is the struggle for influence over the political influence of the proletariat between Martov, the Menshevik, on the one hand, the Bolsheviks, and Trotsky, who, for simplicity's sake, occupies a sort of center, trying to navigate the two. Martov and Trotsky think the Russian proletariat is too immature in that the peasantry had not yet been adequately educated by capitalism in the countryside in the way that German peasants had, for instance, which prohibits the unity of Russian workers and peasants from coming together. But Lenin says actually 1905 proved that workers are the most mature class in Russian society, and that the peasants of Russia are beginning to feel the encroachment of capitalism. Most importantly, Lenin says Trotsky and Martov are ignoring the fact that Russia is still in the process of its bourgeois revolution, whereas the Western powers in Germany, Western Europeans, had theirs long ago. Finally, in the capitalist system of modern agriculture, Lenin reiterates some of his previous work on the capitalist transformation of agriculture and, using the new census data from the time, argues that the fourfold increase in agricultural machinery is compelling more peasants to move to the cities for wage labor or even working for wages in the agricultural sector, gradually introducing them to capitalist forms of land development and forcing the surplus agricultural population to the cities. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for listening.